Howdy, this is Geocasket, and today I'll be talking about the history of the Rick Owens Geobasket sneaker. Now, I think what I find most interesting about the Geobasket is seeing a high fashion designer like Rick Owens take the same approach as an athletic brand like Nike and the Jordan 1, re-releasing the same shoe year after year with just minor tweaks. Take these Cyclops Geobaskets for example. They have the zipper on the opposite side of the regular release pairs and also this strange heel peg. Before I started my Instagram page, I'd watch a lot of YouTube sneaker content, but these guys never really covered sneakers that were considered high fashion. Instagram at the time had some pages that would occasionally post geobaskets, but never really anything substantial could be found about things like how many models existed. So, as a first project, I around 85 different Geobasket models and counting. I'd have to say the Geobasket is about as iconic as it gets as far as designer sneakers go. The big brain fashion connoisseur will already know that the Geobasket descends from the Rick Owens Dunk, but the even bigger brain will know that there are a few extra layers to Geobasket lore that will be discussed in this video. If you want to even begin to talk about the Geobasket, first off you have to consider the grandfather of high fashion sneakers which came before it, the Rick Owens Dunk. So let me set the stage. The year is 2005, and Rick and Michelle are chilling in Paris. Sneakers, too prosaic. Time to exoticize them. Sneakers made their first appearance on the Rick Owens runway for the fall 2005 collection MOOG, with these two models here. The one on the left is particularly mysterious, as it's definitely a dunk, with a signature large tongue folded down, and it also has an access zipper on the side. But other than the runway footage and a few pictures, not much info can be found about them. I only mention this because Grailed might want to update their article. I'll talk more about the dunks in just a second though. First off, the Laceless dunk, also sometimes called the Proto Dunk. New shoe models are expensive to manufacture. It was likely quite a risk for Rick to begin making this type of shoe, when no other fashion house was really making luxury sneakers. Oh, how the times have changed. One thing to notice is that these have Riri Infinity pull zippers instead of the Recogni zippers that would later be used. These first models had some issues. You can see a noticeable separation line right on the sole here, and they don't have any stitching connecting the upper part of the shoe to the sole. I'm assuming that the sole was just glued on. Rick talks about making his first sneakers here, and I just like his mentality of fake it till you make it. Getting into the details, the material on this laceless model is very bizarre. I believe it could be bullfrog leather. This is a bullfrog leather Rick phone case shown next to them, so you can see the similar bubbly texture. Before we discuss the dunk, I'd quickly like to talk about this crazy pair of cutout dunks from the 2005 era. They were famously worn in this photo by model SASCHA PIVOVAROVA. Sorry if I pronounced that name wrong. And like the Laceless dunks, they are incredibly rare. Almost more so, as they were a women's only release and can only be found in smaller sizes now, going for insane prices. They had this cool gum sole too, and were released in a black and white colorway, one of which is owned by the famous avant-garde clothing store in Hong Kong, Inc. Clothing. I'd like to thank you so much for getting this far in my first ever YouTube video. If it gets good support, I'll make more just like it. So please consider subscribing to my channel and clicking the like button down below. Thank you. Now on to the dunk. Some of the first dunks had shearling lining and were made of pigskin. These shown on screen are from the Spring-Summer 2006 season Tungsten, and following is another pair of pigskin dunks from Dustulator with a detached tongue, which would later be changed in future models. This is the box they were sold in, and I just thought it was interesting to show that the sides of these boxes were stapled shut. Staples are one of the most defining features of the shoe. They held the pieces of the sole together, and eventually the staples would yellow and often fall out after years of wear. When people sell their dunks now, you'll often see lines in the description such as staples still intact, and this is to describe that the shoe is still in relatively good condition. The most famous design feature of the dunk is the swoosh, though, which draws a pretty clear comparison to the swoosh of the Nike logo that we all know. But what I see a lot of articles forget to mention is that the shoe was supposed to be a parody mashup of a number of sports brands, not just Nike. The swoosh has 3 lines within it and closely resembles an inverted Puma stripe logo. Now, time to discuss what anyone who knows about dunks wants to hear about: the Nike cease and desist letter. What would make the shoe go down as one of the most iconic sneakers in history is what allegedly happened in 2008. The story goes that Nike sends a cease and desist letter to Owens Corp as the dunk stripe bore too much similarity to the Nike swoosh, resulting in all future production of the shoe being cancelled. There is so much misinformation out there about this, and even articles on the rickowens.eu official website have wrong information reported. Like this one shown on screen, for example, saying the Geobasket was launched in 2008. Not true. But basically, Rick's public response was that he was flattered by this letter. I've heard some theories that the letter was never actually sent, as Nike never publicly acknowledged it. And perhaps it was an incredibly clever marketing ploy, which I think is interesting, but I'd say unlikely. Another thing to mention is that right after this incident in 2008, Dunks did not immediately cease production. They've been sold in stores up until 2010 for the spring-summer release season. Now, moving on, during the time of the dunk, other sneakers from Rick were also being made. These are the minimal dunks from 2007 season Drake, and they had no side design and just a general more minimal look to them. And fun fact, this is a photo of the former Rick Owens model Jera wearing the shoe. He was used in modeling by the brand for years and was punched in the face by Rick after he staged an unofficial protest during the men's 2016 Cyclops runway show. Moving on, we have the Crust Dunks of Fall-Winter 2009. This shoe is still called a dunk, but lacks the distinct swoosh, instead having 4 stripes. A bit of a risky decision, cough Adidas, and some other changes. Here's the original sketch for this shoe, and you can see that Rick is morphing the dunk design into something resembling the Geobasket. That roughly covers the first era of sneakers from the label. From here, Rick began designing new models that still held a lot of the DNA from the dunk and resulted in the first Geobaskets. This initial Geobasket shoe demonstrates a clear transition between the two sneakers and was released in 2010. What makes these so special and sets them apart from other short-tongue Geobaskets is that they have the same toe box stitching as the dunk, and this is the only model to have this small detail. These first sneakers are called short-tongue Geobaskets as they lack the extra tall tongue that would later appear, and the first versions of 2010 still had the flat crepe sole and staples of the dunk. Also, 2010 saw the Turbo Basket sneaker, sometimes also called the Hoof Dunk. This is a version of the Geobasket without laces and has a shorter tongue. Here's a picture of 2 cool guys in what I assume is the Japanese flagship store wearing the all-black version on their hands. Turbo Baskets were worn on the 2010 spring-summer release runway. They would later be modified into the super jacked-up version known as the Mega Turbo Basket that came out. And they also saw a release under the Dark Shadow sublabel in 2015 as a vegan sneaker that had no leather. The most distinct aspect of Geobasket models is their side triangle here, which hasn't been changed much since 2010. Rick often speaks about how architecture is an inspiration for his work, and I think the simple and clean geometric pattern is quite a suitable representation of that. Other Geobasket variations include the Cargo Basket. Seen here is a version from the Fawn 2015 season. These had a pocket on the side, possibly for carrying around an extra sandwich or passport. And fans of this silhouette will be happy to hear that they're being revived for Spring-Summer 2021 Flagathon. And 2 other sneakers that I think also fall under the updated Geobasket Dunk family are the Tractor Dunk, and Ben's release of the Birkenstock Router Hiker boot, which had the distinct high tongue. On the topic of collaboration, the brand has partnered up a few times for collaborative Geobaskets. My favorite example was the Gallery Aesthete 10-year anniversary pair, which was released in an all-black Guidi horse leather. Another favorite special release model of mine is this pair from 2019 Babel. Dubbed the Swamp Geobasket, the upper is made from special translucent apparition leather. To conclude, Rick was an early force behind the current sneaker-obsessed fashion landscape. He was one of the first designers to ever make a $1,300 sneaker, completely raising the bar. Think of how important sneakers are to fashion houses now. Every house is trying to create the next it designer shoe. I think that the Dunk and Geobasket show clear Rick's method of slow progressive design, building upon past concepts to create something new and beautiful. I'd like to end the video with the image known as the Rick in Heels logo. It is found on the inner tongue of every Geobasket and Dunk. This is a picture of Rick Owens from the early 2000s. He is seated, wearing high heels and a sleeveless tunic. His long hair, dyed raven black, obscures part of his face. Take a second to think about how strange it is to use this image as a logo. It doesn't say the brand name, it's not a monogram, and really without knowing its context, it's hard to even make out what it is. I find the photo encapsulates the vision of the brand. Rick has made himself more a part of his own brand than any other designer in history. Through clothing, Rick Owens explores an idea of the other, the depths of what is masculinity and femininity. To me, Rick's work is an ultimate expression of art. Thank you. Well, this video took way longer than I expected. If you'd like to support me, consider checking the description for a link to my Patreon. I donate 20% of all proceeds to the Sloth Conservation Society. Any donation amount at all will also provide you with access to my private Discord server, where we can chat about fashion. I hope to see you there. Till next time.